Down into the blanket. Adjust the flush of the buttock so it moves diagonally back from the sitting bones. We'll just take this opportunity, this few moments, just to become stable in our seated position. We will be doing a few postures to release tension, stretch a little bit before we come back to sitting. But like all the other classes that I teach, I like to start in a seated position just to give our body, breath, mind an opportunity to let go of everything else that's going on, to become centered, to set that intention. So with your shins crossed, align the spines, really feel the vertebrae stacked. Let's lean forward here just a little bit. You can have the hands at the sides or even on the thighs. Coming forward, so the head first, chest, abdomen. Move the top of the sacrum in. Feel the lower abdomen having to lift up, otherwise you'd fall more into the front ribs as opposed to keeping the spine elongated. Okay? And have head, chest, abdomen, leaning, top of the sacrum, moving in. Just begin to notice the breath. You start to move the shoulders back, keep the top of the sacrum moving in. Feel the lift from the base of the sternum up. Descend from the outer shoulders down to the outer elbows. With the hands at the sides, we get a really clear opening to the armpit chest, the inner armpit that attaches to the side body, this outer armpit that attaches to your inner arm, right? That both are lifting up. And you can feel the back ribs coil in. Keep the crown of the head ascending, the back of the arms long as we bring the hands to the heart. The thumbs together at the base of the sternum, the fingers together moving away from the chest. The head slightly released down, not to feel any strain in your neck, but to allow the lower jaw to release from the skull, the back of the tongue to relax. The top of the mouth softens. There's a release down from the bridge of the nose, around the temples, skin of the forehead. Just let the eyes gaze into the heart, the gesture of the ego surrendering to the heart. We reflect inward, just setting an intention for your practice this evening. Also give thanks to the lineage of teachers who have passed down the teachings through the centuries. And as you let the body settle into your support, the top of the legs, the sitting bones, feel the alertness to the spine, not in a jarring way that you're jamming the spine up, but in a way that allows you to be present, focused inward. If you'd like, you can join me, just 3 ohms to begin. Let the head release, the hands release. We slowly lift the head, we open the eyes. And roll the shoulders just a few times. We'll change the cross of our shins, just getting that feel for both sides, because when we come to sit, we will be changing the cross of the ankles when we pause, because it's good to get connected to both sides of the body, that interchanging of the legs, because it can feel awkward sometimes on one crossing and the other. So from here, when we readjust, we'll bring the hands back to the heart, interlace the fingers, extend the palms forward. Okay. If you're working neck, shoulder issues, wrist issues, just extend the hands, the arms keeping the hands parallel to each other. You can inhale and extend upward. Let the inner sitting bones descend, the thighs descend, getting that stretch, not just through the spine, but through your side body. Now, we don't want that side to sink down when we're sitting. We want to keep the sides lifting, that openness in the armpit area. Let the chin release down to the chest. We levelize the head. We'll bring the arms back, change the interlace of the fingers. We'll extend once more. So this stretch isn't meant to be rajasic, to really excite the body, but just to bring an elongation to the sides, to the spine. We can keep the back ribs moving in, arc the neck to look up, let the throat open, and then levelize the head, and we'll come back. I'm going to remove that blanket. And we're just going to do maybe 3 poses just to stretch, release tension before we come to sitting. The first will be Adho Mukha Svanasana, which is downward facing dog pose. I'll show the option on the floor and then one with the chair. Okay. So you bring the hands in front, move the knees back just a little bit behind that top crease of your thigh. Just start with pressing down and really stretching through the tops of your feet. And we'll even tuck the chin and tailbone under for a few breaths. And you could be standing with the chair or at a table, coffee table, that's better height for you, chair or table, something sturdy if kneeling is not good for you. Okay. We exhale, tuck the chin and tailbone under. Feel that lift of the upper back, the spreading through the ribs, the bridge of the nose, moving down from the forehead to the tip of the nose. Inhale back to a flat back. The next exhalation once more, tuck the chin and tailbone under. Try and feel vertebra by vertebra, that spreading stretch and space between the vertebrae. We'll come back to the flat back. From here, tuck the toes under, lift the hips up, lift the kneecaps up, and then as we lift the kneecaps, the thigh muscle lifts up and moves to the bone. The front of the thigh bone moves back and slowly descend the inner and outer heel down towards the floor. If the option to the floor is not good for you, okay, you can be using the chair, counter, or even, the arm of a couch can work. There's something you can bring your hands to that you're able to step back. Really feel the thigh muscle move to the bone and those outer hips lift up. Okay? The lower abdomen moves up. The front floating ribs move in. You feel that spread to the back. And again, that top of the sacrum moving in, but we're not just falling into the back, okay? There's that elongation. Shoulder blades move in, sacrum moves in. So this is Adho Mukha Svanasana. Really feel the stretch through the arms and legs, through the spine. The head releasing down, quieting the brain. You get the whole circumference of the arms and legs and torso. Really try to feel that whole 3 dimensions of your body, not just the front, back, sides, but as one. From our downward dog, we'll come back to our hands and knees. We'll just briefly come down onto the floor. I'll show another option if you're not coming down to the floor, so just hold on for a moment, but we'll come down to the floor. Toes, they don't have to touch, but the toes go in, heels out. You can cross the forearms and just rest the forehead on the forearms. Or you could turn the head to the side and rest more on the temple if that feels better for you. And for those that maybe lying on the floor is not good, you could use the chair and your bolster. Just coming forward, cross the forearms, rest the forehead. If you turn the head to one side, turn it to the other side. If you're resting the forehead at the center, you might even just change the cross of the forearms, come back to resting the forehead. Really feel the pelvis release. Any gripping in the abdomen, bring those front ribs in. Just breathe into your back ribs. Allow the lungs to expand fully. Feel the brain becoming smaller almost as the mind relaxes its grip and moves down to the heart. That feeling of the mind, leaving the brain, moving to the heart, so that our actions, speech, thought come from our heart. And then after the next exhalation, slowly lift the head. Bring the hands just to the sides. You can press to come back up. You can stay here, hands and knees, for a few breaths. Those that are able can move the knees apart, toes together, and stretch forward into Adho Mukha Virasana. And you might want to rest your forehead on a block, blanket, or the bolster. And then we'll slowly come back up. From here, we will find a comfortable seated position to sit. And what I've done in the past is we begin, I might talk a little bit just to keep us relaxed, keep the brain from, wandering off, the mind from wandering off. And then I'll ring the singing bowl at 5-minute marks, just so that you know that someone's watching the time, because the mind can start to go off and wonder what time is it, how long have we been sitting. So I'll ring the bell at 5 minutes, and it can also give you an opportunity to readjust, because sometimes during that time we start to sink. So the bell can just be a reminder to readjust, re-alert the spine. So I'll show maybe a couple of ways that you could sit. As we progress through the week, I'll show some variations. You choose one that works well for you, but also be open to trying something new, because sometimes it's, we're not always going to be in our homes with all the props. Sometimes we might be waiting at an airport, or, sitting waiting somewhere, and we have to make do with what we have. I'm going to have a bolster here at a wall. I'm going to bring the blanket up onto the bolster just to make it a little bit higher. Coming to sit, crossing the shins, really walking the sitting bones back in towards the wall so that you have that wall for support. Okay. You could sit in a chair. That would be another option. And for those, maybe sitting cross legs isn't good for you, but you could sit even in Virasana. The knees together, feet apart. I'll show from the side. And you could use a bolster or block and come to sit in Virasana as another option. I've got the toes just hanging off the blanket. Those are a few options for this evening. The wall is a really nice prop because not only does it kind of hold us up, but it gives us feedback when we start to move away from the wall. And of course, we could use a chair. And the chair can be the perfect height for many people. If sitting down lower creates cramps in the hips, the knees or back, here we get the space at the abdomen. It's not compressed. We can really relax through the neck and shoulders, and we have the support of the backrest of the chair. So a chair can be a really great option. Really feel the sitting bones are centered, tailbone centered between the sitting bones. The weight on the sitting bones is centered. You like the blanket around the shins using that blanket. Move the shoulder blades in from the upper tip down to the lower tip and feel the lift from the base of the sternum up. Move the shoulders from the front back, and you can even touch that back of the arm into the wall. Palms can face down or up. Try and feel this armpit lifting and opening at the front. The back, it's releasing down from the armpit that touches the inner, the side body, the armpit that touches the arm, releasing down at the back, lifting up at the front. Let the eyes gaze down, maybe a body's length in front. Keep the eyes open for a few moments. So that you can really begin to feel the softness come to the skin of the forehead, around the eyes, to the cheeks and jaw. As you gaze ahead, let the eyes recede back in the skull so that you almost see more of that peripheral area. It's not just, focused on one spot, but the eyes recede back. And from there, letting the eyelids close, the top eyelid releasing down to the bottom. And just as the eyelids gently touch, the lips are the same, gently touching, releasing corners of the mouth, corners of the eyes. The tailbone release down, the sacrum moves in, the kidneys move in. scan your body. Are the feet relaxed to the toes, the arches, the ankles? The groin, the thighs releasing. Might almost begin to feel as the lower body descends down, lightness coming to the upper body. Bring the awareness to the breath. Feel the coolness of the breath, the nostrils as we inhale. The warmth, the nostrils on the exhalation. At the beginning to feel that coolness, you might have taken a sharper inhalation. To begin to notice if the breath becomes more relaxed, soft. Feel the heart maybe beating within your torso, the chest. The movement of the lungs, that ripple effect to the ribs on the inhalation and the exhalation. The sound of the bell. Be a reminder, making the subtle changes within as you need to realign the spine, the shoulders, the neck. To relax the sense organs and allow them to move inward. Become familiar with your breath, with the feel within the body. How your mind works, creating and shaping your perceptions of the world and of yourself in the world. how the mind constructs labels to ourselves. And if you can, for this practice, let go of those labels. Go beyond as we go inward. Go beyond our habitual patterns that we use to define how we see ourselves and behave in the world. Even envision that a vastness as we let that all go. Envision a space around you, almost as if you were standing at the top of a tall hill or mountain. That same feeling within of space, openness. You become one with your surroundings. And let that ring of the bell just be a reminder to come back to ourselves, to the breath, to readjust as you need. If you feel you need to, you can even change across of the shins. Let the back of the arm release, front of the arm. Feel the back lower ribs move towards the wall, just that the back isn't overarching. our day-to-day lives, we really are aware, we have that normal awareness. The mind, though, can become quite cluttered with the day-to-day activities, duties that we need to perform, that mundane mind of our daily life. We have to move that awareness beyond that normal awareness to a more meditative awareness, a clear mind. That awareness is a quality of our mind itself. Really try to feel the brain shrink almost from the skull. We focus on the breath, and the mind follows the breath, begins to lose its grip of searching outward away from us, moves more inward. When the mind goes off looking, searching, and just gently bring it back to follow the breath. Each cycle renews, releases. The head, mind drops to the heart. Really begin then to generate those sensations of compassion, peacefulness, quietness within. It's one thing to think those concepts, but to feel that sensation without thinking. Sit another 2 minutes, and we'll come into Shavasana. Begin to feel that true connection, your body, breath, mind. There would be no mind without the body, or breath, no breath without the body and mind, no body without your mind or breath. They all together work in unison to try to define what aspect is truly yourself. Makes the three combined. From here, if you're ready to come down to the floor to Shavasana, you may like to just slowly open the eyes. Maybe bring on the blanket down onto your mat. And cross the legs. You take your bolster onto the floor just at the beginning and blanket. Release down into a supported Shavasana so that the bolster is supporting the spine, the vertebra, the spinal muscles. Smooth the flesh from the upper buttocks away from the back. Support the back of the head and neck. Let the shoulders release any tension we may be holding in the shoulders, the back. Let that release as we extend the legs. If you're feeling cool, you could always add another blanket or towel or even a pillow to the top of the legs. Really feel the shoulders release down the arms to the palms and fingers. Release the back of the legs, the top of the legs to the feet. The front body softens and relaxes. We feel the diaphragm. Release any gripping in the organs, in the chest, and through the skin. Continue to keep that softness, the forehead, on the eyes, the mouth, and throat. We'll leave you here for this evening in your Shavasana as long as you would like. And you slowly do come up to sitting, stay a few moments. The nervous system cool, balanced, connection of the head to the heart. With gratitude to each of you for joining me this evening. Thank you so much. I hope to see you tomorrow.